and I think we'll need more information on that. In the time I have left, I want to move a motion that the committee report to the House that invites the President of the Treasury Board, Anita Anand, to appear for no less than 2 hours in relation to the Arrive scam study, and that this meeting occur within 3 weeks of this motion being adopted. Having moved the motion, I will now speak to it.
Just
a point of order, Chair.
Hold on one. All right, just 1 second. I just want to consult with the clerk, Mr. Junior. First, I'll hear the point of order from Ms. Shanahan, please.
Yes, Chair. I call again. We're having this stunt sprung on us by Mr. Genuis, and I call for a suspension of this meeting. Please suspend the meeting so that we can discuss and receive the motion.
Yeah, yes. So you're reading my mind. I'm just going to consult with the clerk for a second. Just hold on, please. All right. I see hands going up. Ms. Genuis, you've not. Yes, Ms. Genuis, you're back. But first, I'm going to suspend for 5 minutes. I'm going to give our witnesses a chance to stretch their legs because you're not excused yet, unfortunately. I'm hoping this will go relatively quickly, but you never know with committees. So I will suspend for 5 minutes. Then I will come back to Mr. Genuis, and then I will proceed with the speaking list. So this meeting is suspended for 5 minutes. Members, back into order. Witnesses, you're welcome to float around the room as you like. I will certainly give you a heads up, and you'll probably be able to hear it as well. You don't need to stay affixed to the table, but of course you're welcome to. I have a speaking order. I'm going to go again, Mr. Genuis, then Ms. Khalid, Ms. Kuzi, and then Ms. Shanahan. Mr. Genuis, you. Oh, first, I would like to have UC to change the name of the program in the motion so it is Arrive Can. I'm not looking for discussion on this. I would just like your consent to do that. Any objections? Seeing none, it is Arrive Can in this motion that members are debating. Mr. Genuis, back to you. You're welcome to make your rhetorical flourishes on the floor, but not in the motions that this committee will consider. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. And next time I put Arrive Scam in a motion, I will add the appropriate trigger warning at the end of the motion. I guess at the beginning of the motion it would make more sense since it's a trigger warning.
That's not point of order. That's not necessary. We can have respectful adult conversations.
Ms. Shanahan,
does she understand what a point of order is?
Ms. Shanahan, you're down on the list, and we will get to you. Mr. Genuis, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think we might need a remedial refresher on the standing orders and which standing orders you can invoke if you disagree with something someone is saying.
Just a point of clarification, that would apply to all parties, I think. Over to you, Mr. Genuis.
Absolutely, Chair, absolutely. Anyways, I did want to speak to this motion, which is a motion about asking the Minister of the Treasury Board to come before this committee to answer for what happened in the Arrive scam scandal. We've heard some discussion even at today's meeting about this issue of ministerial accountability. Are ministers accountable, and to what extent are ministers accountable for what happens in their government? Now, as far as I can discern, the best defense that Liberal members can muster of the government's action in the context of the Arrive scam scandal is to try to convince us that ministers of the Crown do absolutely nothing. That over 4 ministers of procurement since this pandemic started, that the ministers of procurement were not involved in setting policies, making decisions, giving direction as it relates to procurement.
Okay,
we heard yesterday from witnesses that ministers don't have anything to do
that
with
is
procurement.
not
Minister does not have anything.
Okay,
When we hear
all right, Ms. Shanahan, you are down on the third. That's Ms. Shanahan, you're down to speak. This is a very valid debate. You're allowed me to speak to it now. The Deputy Minister has come in today and frankly made the Minister sound like he is a passenger in this voyage, not steering the ship. So that is why I think the opposition is raising this, but it is valid. and you're welcome to debate the merits of ministerial accountability in your turn, not as a point of order, which it is not. But you are third on the list. I always welcome points of order to guide me, but I ask that they be points of order. Mr. Genuis, you have the floor again.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal member is helpfully assisting me in precisely demonstrating the point that I was making. She's saying, come on now, the minister is not actually involved in making any decisions that have relevance to the procurement process. Perhaps the title Minister of Procurement is purely decorative. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect better, though. Canadians expect ministers to take responsibility for things that happen within their department. Of course, we understand that ministers aren't involved in every specific decision that happens within their department, but they're responsible for establishing the culture, setting the policy frameworks, giving broad direction, and certainly insisting on remedial action when things are clearly starting to go off the rails, as was obviously happening in the case of the Arrive Scam scandal for a long time. We've had 4 ministers of procurement in the last 4 years under these Liberals. I wonder if they should just formalize the process by designating a potted plant to be the 5th minister. A potted plant could receive briefings still, could be present in the department still, but would ostensibly have as much to do with actual procurement as the last 4 ministers have had.
Again,
I think it's...
I would go to language. I would go to language in describing other members of Parliament.
Miss Shanahan.
And it's called delegated authority.
Miss Shanahan, you'll be welcome to set the record.
On that point of order, Chair.
Just hold on, Mr. Genuis. Ms. Shanahan, that's not a point of order. You're interrupting. I try to avoid having members interrupt one another. We can sit here all day. No other committee is sitting today. We have infinite parliamentary resources to sit here. If you're going to interrupt, you're going to hear more from me, which will take away from your time. Mr. Genuis, if you have a point of order, I'd like to hear it. If you don't have a point of order, I'd like to get back to your time. Why don't you just go back to your time? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know that there's any history of the term potted plant being found unparliamentary. So I will underline the point that in our system of government, the public expects ministers to take responsibility, not to be specifically involved in the minutia of every small decision, but to be responsible for the policy, direction, the culture, the frameworks, the rules, and the adherence to the norms that the public expects. So if the Liberals' best defense of what happened in the Arrive Scam scandal is to say the ministers don't have anything to do with what happens inside of government, I would submit that that is also a problem, that it is a problem either way. Now, that's to the general point around ministerial accountability. Of course, we need to hear from Minister Anand specifically in reference to an announcement that she made yesterday in reference to her work as president of the Treasury Board and the steps the government says it is taking in this regard. So I think it's very clear, in particular in the context of what we heard yesterday, both at committee and through the media, that hearing from Minister Anand is of particular importance. So this is why this motion was put forward today, and I don't doubt that some members will not agree with some aspects of my commentary, but I hope that won't get in the way of support for a common sense motion to invite the President of the Treasury Board to appear before this committee and to speak about her work, the work of her department, and announcements and actions that she has spoken about.
I mean, we have had ministers here before. We can just invite her. That's all right. You know, that's something that this committee has done, and it is something where we've always been respectful of the fact that ministers have many time constraints, and I think that it's behooves us to from this committee to have a motion that shows that respect. And again, if we were discussing this as we usually do in committee, it could be in camera, it could be in public, but together as a committee during committee business, we could have come to a reasonable invitation to the minister. But no, here we are. We're over time. People have other things to do, but this is what Mr. Genuis decided was the ideal time to pull this stunt. And so I move the following amendment, that the text that this meeting occur within 3 weeks of this motion being adopted be deleted from the motion.
Thank you. That is certainly in order. We're now debating the amendment to remove the 3 weeks. So I'm going to confer with the chair for a second. Pardon me. I'm the chair. I'm going to confer with the clerk 1 second. Very good. So we're now going to debate the amendment to this motion to remove within 3 weeks. Ms. Idlut, would you like to speak to this, or would you like me to just hold you till we come back to the main motion? The floor is yours if you'd like to.
No, I'd like to speak later.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Yip, do you want to speak to this amendment, or would you like to have me hold your name and I will come back to it once this amendment is addressed?
Yes, I can speak to this.
Okay.
We should. So can we put this to a vote?
Speaking to it, yes. Are you done?
Yeah.
Good.
Let's just put it to a vote.
Miss, I have to go through the speaking. Miss Khalid, your hand was up, but then it came down. Do you want to speak to this amendment, or shall we proceed to a vote to remove within 3 weeks?
I think it'll pass unanimously, Chair.
I think it might. Not hearing from Miss Khalid, clerk, call the vote on this, please.
Shall the amendment proposed by Ms. Shanahan carry? Mr. Van Bynen.
Mr. Van Byden, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Yes.
I was on mute in favor.
In favor. Thank you.
Mr. Pawlowski.
For.
Ms. Khalid.
You're on mute, Miss Khalid.
Ms. Khalid.
You're on mute, Ms. Khalid. And I'll just, in the meantime, we're voting on an amendment put forward by Ms. Shanahan.
My apologies, Chair.
Yeah.
Was having a hard time finding the vote button. I vote yes.
Thank you. And if I could ask you just to put your headset on if you speak again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
Ms. Yip.
Yes.
Ms. Block.
I'm seeing a nay vote from Ms. Block on the camera, which is acceptable. Ms.
Mr.
Block
Barrett?
votes nay.
Ms. Kuzi.
Against.
Monsieur Lemire.
Contre.
Ms. Idlout.
Akapunga against.
5 yeas, 5 nays.
Very good. Ms. Shanahan, I'm afraid your amendment is defeated. I'm obviously voting, and I'm now returning to the speaking list. Ms. Idlout, you have the floor on the motion that was presented to us. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair. It is a pleasure to represent the NDP, and I share the sentiments that were shared about my colleague, Blake Desjardins. I do wish him well during his time of grief. I have complete faith in our whole party and what we've heard, and the advice given to us by our staff. So when I'm sharing my feedback, it is because of what I've heard, and unfortunately, what I'm hearing during this debate at committee is a lot of partisanship when we should be demanding accountability. What I've heard from the witnesses, from the officials, and I appreciate that it was based on a new motion regarding this study, is that the officials were not able to answer my questions. And inviting them back will mean that even if I repeat those questions to those same officials, they will not be answered. I understand that there were officials from the Treasury Board Secretariat. I'm pretty sure that if I asked those officials those same questions, they would not give the same information that Canadians deserve. And the reason I say what Canadians deserve, the original intent of the ArriveCan app was supposed to be about $80,000. And to hear that over time, 55 million at the very minimum was spent to have this app operate, so-called for the protection of Canadians' health, is completely unacceptable. It was only recently that I learned that the recipients of this contract claim to have Indigenous identity and use that in this contract. So there are still a lot of unanswered questions. And when I asked my questions, instead of the officials responding or accepting responsibility, diverted that information to be answered by another department. And I think that given the huge amount of losses that this program costed, deserve the scrutiny that it's received. I'm not convinced by other interventions that we've been told how many hours have been spent on this, especially when there are still lingering questions about the colossal failure of what has happened. And we need to make sure that the officials aren't the final stop in seeking answers. We do need to hear from the president of the Treasury Board, because it is the president that can give us the bigger picture that we're looking for, and where those miscommunications costed Canadians so many millions of dollars. I need to say this again. Nunavut are suffering. The level of poverty that exists in Nunavut, and for Nunavut to continue to be ignored, for Nunavut to continue have to lose to profits to CEOs is completely unacceptable. We need accountability. We need answers. And because of that, I support this motion to get those answers from the president of the Treasury Board. Oyanami.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go to Ms. Yip next, and then Ms. Shanahan, because Ms. Yip was on the roll call earlier. If you two would like to swap, you're welcome to do that. But Ms. Yip, you have the floor. Okay, and I'm seeing agreement from Ms. Shanahan. Ms. Yip, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with my colleagues on my side that the minister has already been invited to government operations on the same issue. So I don't feel that there's really a need to repeat the invitation here, and that it just ties up more time, more resources. We have just on this public accounts committee, we have so many outstanding reports to review. In fact, we've barely moved on reports, on the completion of reports that we were looking at last year. And we certainly had many, many meetings on ArriveCan. And now the Auditor General is about to table new reports, and yet we haven't even completed the work that we have set out to do last year. So I feel that it's also been clear that referring to the report to the House part, this is a political tactic by the Conservatives to clog up the House and to waste time and resources and to stop us from passing legislation that supports Canadians, such as pharmacare. And I really don't think that's right to take all this time away. So I just like to propose an amendment to remove the report to the House. Thank you.
Again, Ms. Yip, I'm going to rule it out of order because that fundamentally changes the nature of the motion to. So I'm going to remove that out of order. You're welcome, of course, to vote against it, which is effectively what your amendment is doing.
I don't. Yeah. Sorry, I don't believe that it's out of order. I'm going to challenge that.
All right. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll call on my decision. Just give us a second.
Shall the decision of the chair be sustained? Mr. Van Bynen?
No.
Mr. Pawlowski?
No.
Ms. Khalid?
It's a no for me.
Ms. Shanahan?
No.
Ms. Yip?
No.
Ms. Block?
Ms. Block is signaling a yes. Record her vote as a yes.
Mr. Barrett? Yes. Ms. Kuzi?
Yes.
Monsieur Lemire?
En faveur.
Ms. Idlout?
Angertunga, yes.
5 yeas, 5 nays.
The decision of the chair is sustained. Ms. Yip, you still have the floor. Or you can turn to your colleague, Ms. Shanahan.
I just feel that I just want to, I guess I can't go back to it, but I just feel that I want to say that we are just removing something. We're not causing the motion to be out of scope. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shanahan, you have the floor.
Yeah,
Actually, just one. Ms. Cleed, you had your hand up some time ago, and it's not up now. I just want to confirm if you're speaking after Ms. Shanahan, or if you'd like to speak at all, but you have to wait your turn.
Of course, I love speaking, Chair,
yes.
And will continue to speak. That's what my constituents send me to Ottawa for. So yes, I do reserve the right to speak.
Very good.
After Ms. Shanahan.
You'll be up after Ms. Shanahan. Ms. Shanahan, you have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I would actually like to have some clarification on your ruling, on your decision to call that Ms. Yip's amendment out of scope, because it is simply deleting text from the motion. It is not taking away at all from the invitation to have the minister come before this committee. I think it is entirely within the scope, and so for future reference, I would like to have that clarification from the clerk.
Well, the clerk will tell you what she just told me. It has been decided by this committee. The debate is back to the motion. You have the floor, Ms. Shanahan.
That's very unfortunate that we were not able to discuss this further because, again, the practice of this committee has been to discuss witness lists. Indeed, I've sat on other opposition chaired committees, and it was always the practice of the opposition chair to reach out for an upcoming study, to reach out to all sides for a witness list to discuss the scope of the study, a work plan, that the witness list would be indeed proportionate to the membership around the room, although I can remember in both Government Operations and Ethics Committee that members were generous with the allocation of time, and if a witness was deemed to be of interest to other members, regardless of who had suggested the witness, that the witness would be heard. And it is unfortunate that we are, and I have a feeling unfortunate but deliberate, right, to put us in this position that we have to basically be defending just what would be the normal, respectful procedures of this committee. We have already stated that we are gripped with the, I'm going to say in French, the ampleur, the depth of this problem, what happened here, how horrific it is that in trying to put together a tool that would effectively collect information in a digitized form, which, you know, we're all going to that technology, and it would have been preferable if it had been developed before the pandemic, but there you have it. We were in an emergency situation, and that there were bad actors that took advantage of that time to, however they did it, the cozy contracting arrangements or, you know, fraudulent representation, whatever it was that they were engaged in during a time when people were, of course, physically isolated and communication was limited. This is an issue that, rightfully so, we should be looking at, because indeed the Auditor General had already signaled that ArriveCan was of concern to her when we heard her after the first ArriveCan report, which had to do with the actual value of the application itself, which did serve to save lives because it did speed up and more accurately send out the information to provinces and territories regarding travelers and who needed to be quarantined and so on. So, you know, you had us, Chair. We wanted to study this as well, especially when the Auditor General presented us with her report on the whole contracting and the process and the lack of proper documentation. We were all horrified. But apparently that was not enough for, I won't even call them, they're not even, some of the members here have been subbed in and out so many times, they actually forget which committee they're speaking at. And they refer to testimony that has occurred in other committees. I'm not even sure if they were right in doing so. Flagrant disregard for the way that this committee runs. And Chair, frankly, I expected better of you. in this respect, to put us in this position time and time again, where we could have very easily had this discussion, whether in a subcommittee, although that's not normally a practice of this committee. Normally, these discussions, witness lists, and so on would be in the.
Yes, Ms. Idlow, do you have a point of order?
Yeah, I would like if you could ask the member to get back to what we're trying to debate. The motion that this is not a motion
Relevant.
to question the process or the committee. If you could please ask the member to get back on point.
Yeah, Ms. Shannon, if I could, I am the servant of the committee. Motions come before me, and I don't often have advance notice, and I would ask that you come back to the question at hand.
Well, Chair, I'm sorry that the member feels this way because
Ms. Shannon, so does the chair. So I'd ask you to stay focused on the question at hand.
Well, the question at hand is that this motion could have been dealt with in a consensual way in the committee, where we would have invited the minister, if that was the will of the committee. We could have invited the minister in the normal way that we have done in the past. Indeed, we have had the occasion to have a minister, including the Minister of Indigenous Affairs, in front of this committee, and that was at the express request of the NDP member. And for this side, I can't speak for the other side, but for this side of the committee, we were very happy to support that request and to allocate that time. And indeed, it would be something that we would be happy to do in the future. But right now, what we've got before us is a motion that is going to waste valuable committee time, valuable House of Commons time, because this reporting to the House of Commons, make no mistake, it is a showboat exercise where we will be wasting time in the House, time that could be spent on valuable legislation such as farmer care, and that will hurt Canadians across the country. But I think we know what the official opposition's intentions are in that regard. They don't want farmer care for Canadians, so they're doing everything they can to block it. And Chair, I will finish on that.
Thank you. Before I turn things over to you, Ms. Khalid, just I've been able to secure resources to 8 p.m. I've had a few members asking me on the side, so just so everyone knows, we have resources because no other committees are sitting today. Ms. Khalid, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. And as talented as I may be on my speaking, I doubt that any one of us want me to go on till 8 p.m. With the arguments here today. And Chair, as I said before, I have no problems with the minister coming in, and if that's the will of the committee, so be it. But I'm just trying to ultimately get to what is our end goal here? What are we trying to achieve as a committee? And that was the nature of all the points that I was trying to raise today. Like, why are we doing this? What can we do to be helpful, not hurtful, to the process, to the public trust, to ensuring that going forward, the procurement process is in a better way, that we don't see this kind of bad nature happen again, so that we see that people are held to account. So I am more than happy to go to a vote now on this, Chair, and looking forward to whatever the will of the committee is at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Khalid. Clerk, could you please call the vote? Call the roll call.
Shall the motion of Garnet Genuis carry? Mr. Van Bynen.
Yes.
Mr. Pavlovsky.
Yes.
Ms. Khalid.
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
Ms. Yip.
Yes.
Ms. Block. Mr. Barrett.
Sorry, Ms. Block voted in the affirmative. Is that right? Wasn't yes? Ms. Block voted in the affirmative for everyone.
Mr. Barrett? Ms. Kuzi?
Yes, I would also advise Mr. Pulowski to please mute himself. Thank you.
Mr. Lemire? Monsieur Lemire, je m'excuse.
En faveur.
Ms. Edlott?
Angatunga, yes.
10 yeas.
Thank you. The motion is passed to refer to the House. This concludes the business before this committee. We'll see one another bright and early on